Okay, good evening and welcome to the regularly scheduled Nacogdoches City Council meeting, January 2nd, 2024. Chad, would you lead us in prayer? And Chad is virtually tonight.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. If everyone would bow with me. Heavenly Father, we come to you this day, this second day of the year 2024, Lord, thanking you for a new year, another opportunity for us to turn the calendar and appreciate the many blessings that you've bestowed upon us, particularly those of our fine city, Lord. I ask that you be with us during this time, that you would give us knowledge and wisdom to make the decisions that would be glorifying to you and to your people. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
If you will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, next item is open forum. Is there anybody have anything for open forum? Rhonda? Okay, there being none. Items to be removed from the consent agenda. There is only one, which is the minutes from the last December 5th meeting.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Having a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We'll go into the regular agenda. First item is 6A, hold a discussion and give staff direction concerning the City Hall roof and HVAC replacement. Mr. Opperman.
Yes, sir. Mayor, City Council, Case Opperman, the Director of Public Works and City Engineer. Bringing you tonight the City Hall roof again, which we've discussed in the past. It was promised that we would discuss this again, and so that's what we're doing here tonight. Little background, in November of 2022, so about a year and a few months ago, engineering staff worked with Curtis Architecture, a local area architect firm, to obtain initial pricing to replace the City Hall roof. Through the Buy Board Purchasing Cooperative, we had a local area roofing contractor that worked with the architect to kind of develop the scope for this work, to evaluate options for the roof replacement. And while they were doing that, it also became evident that a lot of the HVAC units at City Hall were in disrepair and quite aged and in need of replacement as well. And so that was kind of lumped into this discussion on the roof replacement. And so they basically brought a plan to replace the roof and all the HVAC units, I believe, into the sometime in the spring. And we wanted to discuss that a little further, and so that was kind of tabled for the moment. We prepared a $900,000 budget for the CIP to address the City Hall roof in this current fiscal year, and so that was based on the original estimate from the contractor to do all that work. In the meantime, in October, we finalized plans and estimates on that work, and the work came back significantly higher, totaling about $1.1 million to do the roof. They also had determined that the roof over the water office, the water billing area, that drive-through area needed to be done as well. That was not in the original scope. But between the roofing materials and HVAC units, the price escalated quite a bit. So working with Army Curtis, who's here tonight, and the roofing contractor and the HVAC contractor, we revised the scope to basically try to keep it under that $900,000 budget that we had. And so they've identified The most significant needs on the HVAC system, the three big units that are on the south side of the building, which have been giving us the most trouble in the finance area and on the third floor and second floor. And then with the roofing, as well as fixing some of the waterproofing, which was already there, but we're touching up some of the areas that are in the worst shape. As well as throwing in some contingency just in case there's anything that gets uncovered during construction. To bring the total just under $900,000, $895,425, to do this, the roof over the main building, as well as the water office drive-through, and the most significant needs on the HVAC system. If we were to hold off on the remainder of this HVAC system, we would propose that we would put a project in the upcoming fiscal year's capital improvements plan to take care of the rest of them. So again, this is a discussion. Staff is opening this up for council to decide what direction y'all may or may not want to go in. And so we're happy to answer any questions pertaining to this. We've also, as I said, have Army Curtis here who's got the history of this whole project, the evaluation details that went into coming to where this proposal is today. So happy to answer any questions after public comment and, as the council desires for discussion.
There is no public comment. Nobody signed up, so we can open it up for discussion. I thought we'd already done this.
We've done it several times. But basically, we started out, when I first came on, that's the first knowledge I had of it, when we were elected, I was elected back in May. It came up, it was $200,000 for a roof. It's several iterations. It was like, well, we need to do the air conditioning. But the price went up to $900,000 for roof and for air conditioning. How many units are on the ground?
That's a good question for Army.
3 or 4.
Hey,
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. We have, I think, 3 multi-zone units on the ground. They are basically the condensers that handle the air handlers up in the building.
and how many are on the roof?
There are 2 RTUs up on the roof. There are multiple split systems on the different levels of the roof as well.
Well, my understanding is when we talked about it, like when the mayor first said, well, that's too much money, how can we do this more reasonably? It was like, okay, $200,000 for the roof, and then we'll just replace the 2 up on, or 3, whatever it is, up on the roof. Because you gotta take them off and then put them back on. So what in essence has happened is it was $900,000 to do everything, and now it's $900,000 to do half of everything. So I understand inflation, it's running at 3 to 9%, but this is 50%, almost 60% inflation. Is that real?
Well, what it is right now, it represents about an overall 18% change from what was originally estimated.
Well, it was
So it was-
$200,000 for the roof, and now it's $305,000 plus 57,000 for waterproofing. So that's $165,000 extra over 200,000.
So we originally came to you with more or less a $900,000 budget.
Yeah.
When it was repriced about a year later, it was just under $1.1 million for the entire project.
But it started out at 200,000.
The original roof was started out as a $200,000 budget, really before we even got up on the roof to
Right.
start evaluation of it.
Was it including waterproofing at that time?
No, not at that very
So you
moment.
weren't gonna waterproof the roof?
The roof is the waterproof. The waterproofing that we're talking about is the coating that's on the exterior part of the building and wraps over the parapet coping.
Okay.
That was found, once we started walking through and doing our assessments, to be in need of repair. And so it's a separate issue, a separate scope of work than roofing per
Yeah.
se.
I just didn't understand, okay.
Right. And so that was kind of bundled up into the overall scope of the roofing project. When we assessed the roof the first time, that's when I brought back the question of, hey, we've got mechanical units up here that are in the same general area that we're gonna be re-roofing. Is there any issues with that? And so a report was done with a mechanical engineer that we brought on board, and we looked at everything. We looked at the whole building,
And did we pay for that also?
yes.
Okay. So
And-
that's not in this budget?
No, it's not.
Okay.
And so the mechanical report came back, and I think that's really when the scope increased, that included the mechanical units. So based on life expectancy or just current performance of those units, that was included with that original $900,000 budget estimate. Since then, like I said, about a year has gone by since those prices have been put together. A couple of things happened. One was another scope of roof was included, which was that drive-through area.
Right.
Roughly speaking, that's maybe another $35,000 worth of roofing there. And then between escalation, both the roof and the mechanical units have gone up over the course of the year.
So what would it cost if we did the whole thing like we originally planned? Like, once you went past the roof and said,
Yeah.
let's do it all?
Yeah.
What would that cost now?
So we had a price of, total project cost of $1,098,825.
So for an extra $200,000, we could do the whole thing?
Correct. Correct. So I've talked with the mechanical contractor to make sure that our pricing is will still hold, and he confirmed that it would. So we have priced out all of the mechanical scope as identified in that report. And that number represents having all of that done at the same time.
Well, didn't they tell us that those are 20 or 15 years old and they're gonna have to be replaced anyway?
Yes.
So if we're gonna climb on this horse at $1 million, doesn't it make sense to spend $1.2 million and do it all now with a price guarantee?
Absolutely, absolutely. The reason that we brought it back in this way was because we wanted to show what was doable under the money that you had set aside for it.
Yeah.
So that $900,000.
But originally, we just had $200,000
Right.
roof, and all of a sudden,
Right.
it's $1 million, 900,000.
Right. But I mean, it's more than just the roof. I mean, a big part of this, well over half of this, is just mechanical.
And if
terms
you
of
open up
dollars.
the walls, is it gonna be some surprises in there?
Well, you always hope that it's not, right? But we have taken let me back that up. We have walked the building with the mechanical contractor and the roofer. We have looked at all the points of connection where the units have to come in and out. Probably the biggest scope of work inside the building is in those air handler rooms on that south side. That's all included under this scope, whatever it has to be done within those rooms. We have a contingency built into this price as well to take care of those unexpected conditions. But based on what we've seen here in the field, what's gonna take to get those units in and out, we feel like we're not gonna be running into any big red flags based on what is being proposed.
Well, you know where on the third floor, there's a big stain where the water had all fallen in on the roof or whatever?
Right.
Is that included in the cost to refix that and paint
Yes.
that inside of the
Yes.
building? Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, there was a leak that was going on
Big
and on and
time.
on, right? And we never made it to this point, because that's part of what brought the whole re-roofing, to light. And with the big rain in May especially, there was basically an emergency repair done to put a stopgap so that we weren't dripping water into the room.
But it's still all stained and
But it's
ugly
still all
and-
stained, and it really, until we had made a decision, until we really totally fixed the roof, re-roof it completely, we wouldn't try to repair any, damaged ceiling tiles or anything.
Okay. So I keep spending your money here. But, okay, so you fix the outside, we got a new roof, you paint the inside and fix it all up. How much more would it be just, like, when I come in this building, the elevator's all scuffed up and ugly and the tile's cracked right there. How much more would it be just to make this building shine up a little bit? I'm just asking, because sometimes I like to see what we've done.
Sure. I mean, it's all comes down to scope of work, you know, how much it is we're talking about needing to
just
spruce
lipstick.
up, you know?
Yeah.
What we might be able to do in this particular case is see how far this contingency lasts us and be able to apply it to some things like that. I'm kind of reaching out a little bit in that manner. We've had pretty good luck in terms of, you know, we've worked with these contractors through some of our NISD renovations, and there have been times when we haven't touched the contingency, you know. And any of that contingency is the city's money. That comes back to you one way or the other. But if there are opportunities while we have those kind of contractors on
Because it's gonna be
board-
torn up anyway.
Right, we can replace a few more ceiling tile, I feel, if, you know, if that's the kind of scope
Take
we're
that
talking
bucket
about.
out of Travis's office or something. Yeah.
Sure.
How long is and the last question, I'll stop filibustering here. What's the lifespan insured for this roof? Is it 20 years, 50
Yeah,
years?
this is a 20-year warranty on the roof, yes.
Okay. All right, that's it. I'm done. Thank you.
As you know my opinion, as we had talked earlier, that if we spend $900,000, we may as well spend another $210,000 and get a complete job done. Because 4 years from now, because dire needs that word has come up several times, and if 4 years down the line, that same word come up again, it won't be $10,000.
I don't think it will be now.
Yeah, no, there is some definite value in being able to do everything while they're here, right? You automatically look at some general conditions being topped off again when you start up as a separate project, you know, down the line. Things are not getting cheaper at the moment. We see as much as 3%, you know, inflation on building materials per month at times. And so no, there is definite value given what needs to be done. All of that equipment can be put in at the same time and basically give you a whole nother life expectancy recourse here from a mechanical and a roof as well, to do it all at once.
Yeah, I mean, as I was telling you earlier, the 1.1, that would be my position, or else nothing else.
Okay, where are we gonna get the money?
So we have the CIP, for 900,000, that's the bulk of it. Any extra would come from, a budget amendment that we would bring to you, at whatever point in time we wanted to move forward with that, if that's the direction y'all wanted to go.
I think we're gonna make a decision on this tonight, because the longer we talk about it, the more expensive it gets.
Yes, sir.
We've talked about this enough. It's
I
time.
just have a couple
Sure,
questions.
go ahead,
So before
Kathleen.
you
No, go
sew
ahead.
it up.
No, go ahead.
So we've already bid it explain that to me. I'm a little confused about that, or,
So under the local government code, and we'll talk about this again whenever we talk about well 12 here in a minute, but it allows for an exception to the bidding process when you have these cooperative purchasing contracts, which is buy board is one avenue for that. These contractors are part of that contract, and so it allows consultants or the city itself to go to these contractors directly and help scope these things. So I don't know if that answers your
that
question.
does answer it, and I appreciate that clarification. But I also wanted to know, I know we bid it as one whole project, and you really have two projects, and then they kind of join up, I guess. And is there value in looking at them separately or not? There probably isn't, but I'm just asking the question.
It's,
you know.
it's an option. The bid, I mean, the
Mr.
the hard
Curtis is
bid
frowning a
option-
lot.
The hard bid option, is definitely one option. You know, Army can speak to why, you know, he would prefer to do it with the GC that he's already got on board, but, it is.
It's real clear.
Well, it is, and, you know, these buy board contracts are already kind of guaranteed at the lowest rate type thing, which is why we're able to use them instead of going through a hard bid process, is because the public is, you know, guaranteed to get the right price, so.
That's really helpful.
Unless, Army, do you have anything to add on that?
Well, if I may,
Please do.
if I understand the question, are you talking about breaking up the different trades into separate contracts?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I asked, you know, a couple of people about it, and I know it's, you know, there's some things to be saved. You know, you have the same equipment up there, and
And that's what's happening in this
Right.
case, because, especially if it all goes together, we need a crane to get up on this roof. And both the roofer and the mechanical guy, they can use the same crane. So that's an example of a cost, you know, that's kind of back to each other. There's also a coordination effort with, especially between a roofer and an HVAC, when they're working in the same space in some cases, right? And so the GC there is responsible for that coordination between the different trades. And especially with the waterproofing, you know, that is especially a coordination effort with the roofer. And so to have them all under one umbrella is a big advantage.
Right. And you don't think we'd save any by putting it?
No, I think it'd probably be more expensive, honestly, if you start to break them down into smaller packages
And then
separately.
it would postpone it too, and the cost would rise, I'm sure, in the postponed times.
We would
Okay.
definitely be backing up to understand how to do that.
Thank you for answering that.
Don't,
really
don't
helpful.
each contractor that was like the roofer or the HVAC person, don't they have a setup fee? It's
Oh, yeah, there's a mobilization
Yeah,
fee,
yeah.
for all of them. And especially when you have equipment here that they need to set up for. There will be a unique situation with how high this building is. You know, trying to get all that roofing material demolished off of this building, there's gonna be a little bit of coordination down at the street level, you know, to be able to do all of that, so. But yes, absolutely, they all will have those kind of costs.
And I'd just like Mr. Beverland to weigh in on this. What's your opinion here?
I think Army kind of answered everything what I was gonna say. If you were coming in building something new, you had $1 million project, and it's clean sheet, you do the design, and to do a separate bid process, but in this case, yes, you did start with something for one repair. And I think probably the one thing is not just looking at, could you mobilize each of these separately, and what would that cost more, which I think it would as well. Would be the larger issue that it's kind of like, do you want to fix 3 things on your house and go hire all the separate trades? And I'm sure a lot of folks will say, oh, I can do that because I'm in construction or something. Or would you want to hire a GC, have one umbrella insurance policy and liability and all that, one mobilization, have them responsible for all that coordination between them? I can just say, having had a 1930 house before, I know that hiring him separately is not a lot of fun. So, Army, speak if I'm wrong. In this case, this is not like a greenfield clean sheet. You're going to go throw up a $1 million metal building in a field, and you could really know what the outcomes are, and you can just put whether they're 3 quotes or 5 actual bids against each other. I would assume that at this point you've shopped within those trades to find the ones that can work on something like this for the best value and coordinate with each other.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've vetted the contractors coming in and vetted their pricing. As well.
So, and it sounds like we're all leaning toward just going ahead and biting the bullet and doing the whole thing. Do you want to weigh in on that also, or?
I hate to use the, buy once, cry once thing. But
Cry a lot.
in the I can say from several other capital projects, especially over the last 4 years that I've in other places been experienced with, and even some of the ones prior to that, things rarely get cheaper. I think we saw the last several years between COVID, the last Russian incursion. Now we've got freighters and tankers getting those type of things going on. So if anything else happens in the supply chain, if you have a decent price, I would go with that now.
Okay.
That's
Thank
what I
you.
would say.
That's very helpful. Mr. Mayor, I think you might have your
Chad,
answer.
you got anything to say?
Just a couple of things to echo Councilmember Maul's concerns. You know, I was feverishly looking back to when we had this first discussion, and it was back on May 16th, and the number was 869,500 to do everything. And then here we are a few months later after we budgeted 30,000 more than that, and now we need 200,000 more. So that I get prices fluctuate, and we have a lot of needs that we need to take care of. But I just want us to, as we're going through these processes, that we're trying to get absolutely as close to the pricing on things when we budget as possible. I know there's volatility in markets, as Mr. Beverland said, but we're talking a $200,000 difference on what we got, 5 months ago, 6 months ago. But again, I'm sort of with the rest of the council that we need to move forward. And as Mr. Beverland said, buy once, cry once.
Okay. Now, so where are we gonna get the money? Just make a budget amendment, like next year or during this year?
I believe we'll be able to come back in, a month with Marty? Is that what we're looking at?
I believe that's what she indicated to me, was within a few weeks, she would come back with a mid-year budget amendment.
Okay.
And it would come from reserves, would be that, because we're at 40%, I mean, we're easily 15% over
Okay, good. Okay.
the minimum.
All right. I don't wanna talk about this anymore. I wanna order it, get it on the roof tomorrow, and everybody's done, so.
So to be clear, do we want to,
Do you need a motion, or are we just advising you to go forward?
some direction on how we want to move forward, and if that's whichever option you choose, is we will bring you back at the next council meeting, a award to award,
Okay.
based on your desire tonight.
Is it everybody's consensus to do the whole thing and fix it at a little bit under $1.1 million? Is that right?
And would you add the caveat that, depending on how the costs work out as you're moving along with the project, that we come back and revisit before utilizing all of the contingency, if there's anything else that we can do to really get the full treatment?
Okay. All right. Yeah, we're ready to go, Chase. Would everybody agree?
Yeah.
Okay. We're ready to go.
We'll bring that back at the next meeting.
Okay. Then we're done with it, right?
Yes, sir. Start tearing things up.
Tell you what, in my business, you want something done, you go do it now, so, but I know this is city government, so, okay. All right, thanks, Chase.
Thank you.
Just sit right there, because you're next.
Yes, sir.
Next item, 6B, consider approval of expenditures through a buy-board purchasing contract with Wisner Incorporated for emergency repairs to well 12 in the amount of $248,000.
Yes, sir, Mayor, City Council, Case Opperman, Director of Public Works and City Engineer. Well 12 went down a couple weeks ago. It's in need of repair. The pump is needing to be replaced, the whole pump assembly, some portions of the well column. Not to bore you with the parts of a well, but those are the major components for a well to actually get water out of the ground, obviously. Well 12 itself is our largest producer in our groundwater system at about 950 gallons per minute. And that the groundwater system, again, we've talked about it before, but it feeds the south side of town, south of Main Street. Due to the nature of the well being down, we have called this a emergency need. We're not in a dire situation today, and that's the good news. But in the meantime, while we're trying to get this well repaired, if another well or two go down, we could be in some issue with some, supply issues. And so we wanna go ahead and get this thing fixed as soon as we can, just to be proactive and not test fate. Weisinger Incorporated has done a lot of our well work here recently. They've worked on wells 8 and 9 and 13 and others. And they've evaluated the issues that we had and come back with a proposal to make the necessary repairs and rehabilitations for this well. They are, again, as I said earlier, under a buy board cooperative purchasing contract, which means we can contract with them directly without having to go through the hard bid process, which could easily take 6 to 8 weeks, and the local government code supports that process. Local government code also allows for us to call this a public health emergency, which would allow us to move past that requirement as well. But we are within our rights to go ahead and contract with a well driller under this contract. Their proposal is for $248,000 or $248,625. We have $225,000 in the regular CIP for well repair already, and so $225,000 of the $248,000 and change is already budgeted and ready to be spent. The remaining cost again would be in that budget amendment that Ms. Simpson is going to bring forward in a couple of weeks, and these additional funds will be for the water utility reserve funds. So. With that, I'd answer any questions after public comment.
There's not gonna be any public comment, we're just for discussion.
No questions.
I mean, it is what it is.
Yes, sir.
We would do well to repair it.
And the amendment
so.
money would come from, reserves from the,
The water utility
okay, perfect.
excess reserves, yes,
Okay,
sir.
all right, okay. All right, you need a motion, or you just want,
Yes, sir, a motion, please.
okay.
I move that we approve the expenditures outlined in item 6B.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, that concludes our meeting. We will adjourn into executive session. It's 6:02 pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074. And we will be back shortly. Thank you very much. Pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074 on executive items A and B, both section codes, no action taken. This meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you for coming, and God bless the great city of Nacogdoches, Texas.